Hello, I'm Euge Valovirta, and this video is about PHASER, Flanger and chorus pedals, how to use them and how they sound in different places in the signal chain. Alright, so, yeah, three effects that are like modulation based effects, and you can find different ways to use these, and they sound a bit different depending where they are on your signal chain. So, first we have a amplifier, first we have a guitar, which is my Tokai Super Strat with EMG 81X and 89X pickups. Then the signal goes into the pedals, and from the chorus it goes to the Friedman JJ Jr. amplifier. And now we're on a distorted channel, so all the pedals are before the distorted preamp. Alright, cool. So usually PHASER is always in front of preamp and not in the FX loop. The reason is that it sounds like shit in the FX loop, so after the gain stages. Whether your preamp is a pedal, so like I always use the PHASER before gain stages, before even overdrive. So and flanger and chorus, sometimes I use them before distorted preamp, whether it's a pedal or amp, and sometimes I use them after, depending on what kind of sound I'm looking for, but never before overdrive. Okay, so phase 90. You know that classic Van Halen? Whoops, couldn't resist. So, you know, phase 90, and so that's these all are basically on my pedal board, and I use them like in Syro. That wasn't Syro. Okay, then a flanger. Obviously, now it's in tune. The do Unchained, so Eddie kind of kicks it in, you know, every once in a while for those palm mutes, but since it's here I couldn't kick it, so, but yeah, you get the idea. That's how Flanger sounds before preamp, distorted preamp. And then a chorus. Chorus is the one that I usually, if I'm playing clean, I have it in front, and if I'm playing with distortion, if I want a more distinctive, like Zakk Wylde thing, I have it in front. But if I have it like smoother, really like, you know, 80s 5150 era Van Halen, I'll have it in the loop. But now let's hear how it sounds in the front. So, yeah, that's how it sounds, those sounds before a distorted preamp. And then when you know, if you want to have something wide like some of these together and stuff, then it's just a matter of testing out and seeing what happens when you put Flanger before chorus or afterwards, or, you know. But okay, now let's hear how they sound after the distorted preamplifier, so that they are in the effect loop. So now the pedals are in the effects loop, so the signal goes from guitar directly to the amp, and then all the pedals are after preamp and before power amp in the effect loop. And again, signal without anything. And a chorus. So it's this kind of 80s style thing, where it's very lush and just you don't really notice it, but when you take it off, you kind of notice it. Like that. Okay, let's see how Flanger sounds. This may suggest it's interesting. So it's very aggressive. To me, doesn't sound good. So I never put Flanger in the effect loop, aka after the distortion. It's always before. Chorus is the only thing that could be both, I think. Okay, then let's see how PHASER sounds in the effect loop. Well, it sounds like shit. I mean, I'm not that familiar how these actually technically work. Then I'm more familiar with overdrives. If you check my other video, I put a link where I explain why this happens. But I think, because this adds a little bit like overdrive to the sound. So I don't know, there's something that just don't work when the signal goes from distorted preamp, and if there's Flanger and PHASER in between the preamp and the power amp, it's, well, like you heard, it sounds like shit. But the chorus, on the other hand, it's more aggressive in front of the preamp than it's in the effect loop, which is interesting, but I really like it. So the chorus works really well in both situations. Okay, then let's do the same. Let's switch to clean channel, and yeah, chorus first, and as you may guess, it sounds good, like it did on a distortion. Flanger. It's pretty okay on a clean sound. It's very aggressive flanging. PHASER in the FX loop. Kinda. So basically, chorus is smoother in the effect loop than before the amp, and Flanger and PHASER are more aggressive in the effect loop than before. Okay, let's switch these back to in front of an amp. So now we're back to where we started. So everything, all the pedals are in front of an amp. And chorus first, without. Flanger. And a PHASER. As you heard, the PHASER adds a little bit of overdrive, and if I understood correct, if I remember correct, when I read some Eddie Van Halen's interview, that why he started to use PHASER, one of the reasons why he started to use that in the first place was that because it added a little bit of boost, so a little bit of gain. Because you know, back in those days, you had your Plexi Marshall, which you need to crank, and there wasn't really any like overdrives. There were fuzz phases or and things like that, but Eddie wasn't interested in fuzz sounds. He just wanted to have more overdrive. So this Phase 90 does that. I don't know the technical stuff, but it just does stuff. So, okay, recap. PHASER works best in front of a preamp like pedal or a distorted, overdriven preamp. Same with Flanger. They both sound pretty horrible in the effect loop if you're using your amplifier's preamp as to create a distortion or overdrive. Chorus works well on both. It just sounds a little bit smoother after the preamp and a little bit more aggressive before overdriven preamp. If you use a clean channel, like we just did, again, chorus works both before and or after the clean preamp. Flanger and PHASER, in my opinion, they work better before a clean preamp. But if you were looking for, you want to have really aggressive flanging or chorusing, then you can achieve that by putting them after the clean preamp in the effects loop. All right. Hey, hopefully you found this informative and interesting. Any questions, put them on the comments below, and if you like, thumbs up, please subscribe and so on. Until next time, take care. Bye.